proteins have a low and a more steady insulin response. Fats have a very low and steady, more steady than the protein response. So in that case, if I'm a diabetic, what should I be eating? Less carbs, more protein, more fat. But in our world, we tend to do the opposites. We have a lot of carbs, a whole lot of carbs. And especially when you're diabetic, the thing is to eat more proteins and fats. Not that you can't, I'm not saying don't eat carbs at all. Everything under the sun, most of these things have, even the things that are high in fat, they also have carbohydrates. And when God told man to eat from the tree and to eat from the ground after they sinned, all those things are carbs. Your broccoli is a carb. So I'm not saying not to eat carbs, but be moderate with the carbs and increase your proteins and increase your fats. Fat has been vilified since the 1960s, but now we're actually knowing or realizing that we can't stop the heart disease by dismissing our fats and increasing carbohydrates. So you have to, what I'm saying is for individuals with diabetes especially, aim to eat more proteins and more fats and less carbohydrates, especially the simple carbs. So how about some healthy proteins? Some healthy proteins like lentils, beans, nuts and seeds, avocados, tempeh, tofu, olives. These are things that will help you to lower your blood glucose naturally. For instance, have a bowl of lentils for breakfast and have another one for lunch. How about healthy fats? So healthy fats like flax seeds, chia seeds, olives, nuts, almonds, walnuts, etc. Especially almonds. Almonds as well is more so diabetic friendly than, say, peanuts. So have your almonds, have your almond butter. But in many cases, it's best to have the almond than the almond butter. But I'm not saying, you said why? So it's more concentrated with the fat or the saturated. Yeah, you can, but think about it when you're eating almonds versus when you're processing it. Basically, take more almonds to make the almond butter. Like a tablespoon of almond butter is probably like 5-6 almonds. So imagine if you had two. So what I'm saying is you tend to eat more or consume more of the almonds as the butter rather than the almond itself. Yes. Right, and I'll talk about that as well, the additives and things like that. Good, that's a good point. But even if you make it at home, you tend to get more than you would just eating it. You try eating an almond or all day, your mouth will get tired. But you can eat almond butter all day without being tired, right? Avocados as well, and like I said, these things have not just fats, but other nutrients, even carbs that are very helpful. Olives, what are olives? Are they vegetables? Are they fruits? Yeah, they're fruits. But you can have this fruit with both breakfast and lunch. You can have olives with fruits. You can have olives with vegetables. So you can have olives, of course. Be careful with the amount of salt. If you have salty olives, you can put them in water overnight, and throw off the water in the morning and enjoy your olives that way. Olives are neutral? They are, except when we add a lot of salt and brine and whatever we add to it. Yeah. Right, neutral. Tomatoes are neutral. Pineapple? No. No, it can be very acidic. Pineapples. So you have neutral food, neutrals. Other fruits, right, right, right. But I wouldn't combine it with like broccoli per se. But olives you can. That's what I'm saying. And a tomato you can. Of course, a tomato is a fruit, right? No? Okay. We'll talk about that another time. But at the end of the day, aim to get your nutrients and all your fats from these foods. And certain vitamins are very important as well. Whenever you have diabetes, um, the high blood sugar actually pulls out or gets rid of a lot of B vitamins. And that's another reason why you can tend to have neuropathy with diabetes. So B12, B6, B1, B3 is very important for your nerves or the functioning of your nerves. And without these B vitamins, then you'll suffer from neuropathy, among other things. Yes. Neuropathy is so the nerves are blunted from working, so they tend to be, or they're not getting enough blood flow to the nerves, and the numbness and the tingling that you have, or the sensation, you have dull sensation, you try to touch something, you don't feel like you have a solid grip, or you don't feel like you're touching something. Does that make sense? Or the numbness, tingling, basically. You also get cold, burning pain, shooting pain sometimes down your nerves. So different signs and symptoms, but basically the nerves are affected. Well, right, right, right. And remember what I was talking about last night about how sugar is sticky? So it sticks to different cells and can cause eye issues, but also sticks to nerves, it sticks to the blood vessels, so it can cause things like neuropathy, essentially. Right, right. So basically, two reasons. One, you're getting rid of B vitamins, and the nerves need the B vitamins to be healthy. But also, you can be shunting away or blocking the nerves from receiving blood flow by the high blood sugar, basically. But also, the nerves themselves can be affected by the high blood sugar as well. So imagine the nerves being bombarded by high blood sugar. Vitamin C, D, and E, these are also very important. Um, you should aim to get your vitamins from your foods, fruits and vegetables and grains. However, of course, vitamin D comes from the sunlight. We'll talk more about sunlight tomorrow. But at the end of the day, if you don't have these vitamins, sometimes it's good to supplement for a time. So getting B vitamins, for instance, or vitamin C. Of course, vitamin C you get from things like oranges and lemons and limes and things like that. But you can supplement with that as well. Vitamin E you get from nuts and seeds, but you can also supplement with that as well. Yeah, and I think knowing where you are, I think the stage of diabetes that you are, you may require um, more or less depending on what stage you are. So, maybe understanding where you are and what your need is important before you start taking it. Minerals are also very important. You have a question? Oh, sure, 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 sure. Not a problem. We're going to talk about minerals next. And the minerals that we have, most of our minerals can come from our foods as well. So having a whole food plant-based diet is very, very key in getting most of our minerals. Now, most of these, except for berberine, you get from your foods. Chromium you get from a lot of our grains. Magnesium, also grains and seeds and nuts. Zinc as well, you get from a lot of our seeds as well, but also our vegetables. Um, but chromium acts like a porter. It opens the door for insulin, basically, to where opens once unlocks the door, chromium opens the door, and glucose enters in. So without the chromium, then the insulin cannot work properly. So think about it like that. But you can get chromium from your foods. However, you can also get chromium as a supplement. So if you struggle from more so type 2 diabetes, also type 1, but if you suffer from type 1 or type 2 specifically, you can benefit from chromium picolinate. Adding chromium picolinate or chromium supplement can help with diabetes. I usually recommend 500 micrograms per meal. So 500 micrograms before your breakfast, 500 micrograms before lunch, and so forth and so on. Berberine, who's ever heard of berberine? Yeah, berberine is, a lot of studies that have been done with berberine and showed that berberine is as good as, or even better than metformin. So you can use berberine to your benefit in lowering your blood sugar, and you can use up to 500 milligrams per meal, so before breakfast, before lunch, and things like that. Now, again, depending on if you have a very high blood sugar, say your blood sugar is in the 300s, you may want to use both berberine and chromium picolinate. But the thing is, you must have it before your meals because it can decrease your blood sugar so low that you can have a hypoglycemic event. And we talked about that last night. It can cause a lot of instant symptoms that could be, well, life-threatening. Heart issues, also fatigue, all these things. Sweating, stomach pain, so forth and so on. So have these before your meals. Don't take them and not eat. It's best if you have them before you eat your meals. Or even after your meals if you want to do that. Yes. Berberine, there's a lot of, yeah. Oh, yeah, it is found in certain herbs, such as barberry, also Oregon grape, and golden seal has berberine as well. There's a lot of herbs, other herbs that has it. So before the meal, 500 milligrams before the meal. So you can have it. Oh, sorry, how early? 5-10 minutes before the meal. Yeah. Normally you take your insulin, right? Or if you're taking insulin, you have it right before your meal. The short-acting one. So do the same thing. Or say the metformin. You take metformin right before your meal. You can do the same thing with the berberine and the chromium picolinate. Magnesium is also another cofactor for insulin. And most of us, the majority of us, 90% of us are deficient or low in magnesium. So adding some magnesium could be very helpful. If you're going to add the supplement, magnesium citrate can be the most absorbable form of magnesium. There's also magnesium glycinate, which is good. You also have malates, oxide, and other ones. Sulfate, magnesium sulfate is Epsom salt. But citrate is the best form to take in. It actually works faster. So 350 milligrams per day could be very helpful. The only issue with magnesium is that it may cause, diarrhea. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That's good. If you have constipation, I guess it is good, but you can. Yes, it's not good. Oh, it's not good. Huh? If you have constipation, you can use magnesium to help you with. Yes. Right. And zinc is also very important. Zinc is one of the best healing minerals of the body. Who's ever had pimples or skin blemishes, and they've used zinc oxide, for instance? Yeah, zinc oxide, you can use it in the face to heal the skin. And same thing, internally, zinc helps to heal certain tissues in the body. Yes? No. Yeah, 500 micrograms before meals. Yeah, yeah. Um, so basically, try to get these from the food as much as you can. However, if you need a supplement for short term, use the supplements that are trusted. Yes. Well, not really uh, foods, but herbs are very high. Barberry, and we'll talk about herbs tomorrow. We'll talk about herbs, but barberry, Oregon grape, um, bilberry, bilberry leaves are very high. Blueberry leaves also has some berberine in it, so you can use these things. But we'll talk more about herbs tomorrow. Well, berberine is not found necessarily in berries. Um, right, right. And Oregon grape, I would say, probably is a berry, but it's an herb more so than you wouldn't want to. Well, you can be. It's edible, but it doesn't have any taste. But besides that, temperance is key. Um, yeah, it's important to select the right foods, especially when you're diabetic. Both for prevention and cure, selecting the right foods is important. Aim to avoid things like processed foods and ultra processed foods, things that come in a can or a bag or basically made in a factory. Aim to avoid that. Why is that? Why do you think that is? Yes, extra salt, extra sugar, extra oil, but also they have less fiber. And fiber basically helps to blunt the sugar response or the insulin response. Yes. No, actually, they're simple carbs, so your body takes it in, and it's like it wasn't substantial, so you want more of it, and then you eat more of it, and then you eat more of it, and you're never full. Ex- exactly. It's not meeting the nutrients, it's not meeting the nutrient intake that you need, but also the fiber intake that you need as well. Um, and the vitamins and things like that. You don't have these. God did not make a Skittle, but we tend to focus on these foods much more than, huh? That is true, to our own destruction. But many of many of the foods that we eat in the box, in a can, and all these things, they have added sugars to them. So be careful. Be good label readers when you become diabetic. These are some tips. Be a good label reader. So things like high fructose corn syrup. That sounds more common, right? But sorghum. Sorghum is a sugar. Panocha, terminator sugar, nutritive sweetener, agave nectar. All these things are added to our foods, and they can be detrimental to our bodies, especially when you have diabetes. But also, it's not just these; it's also the additives, the blue dye, the red dye, the whatever dye. These cause inflammation as well. So remember last night we said there are possibly two ways that the door doesn't open if you have insulin resistance, is because of the amount of fat that you're taking in, but also the inflammation in the body as well. When there's high inflammation, it can blunt those cells from taking in or using the insulin as a key. So if you have a lot of these things that are causing inflammation, then you can blunt those cells from taking in your blood glucose. And also high blood sugar blunts your cells from taking in, it's basically inflammatory product, high blood sugar, that is. How about these things? Well, no fiber, yes. A lot of protein, though. Cause inflammation. It's acidic, but it's also high in saturated fats, and that's also, again, we talked about how these cells are blocked. It causes a lot of inflammation there. So studies have shown just 2 servings of red meat a week, just 2 servings, and no one eats a serving of red meat. No one has a serving. But just 2 servings of red meat a week, processed or unprocessed, can increase your risk of type 2 diabetes by 62%, according to a new study. So basically, adding these things to your diet increases your risk for diabetes in many ways. Fish is the same way. The amount of fat, especially the fattier the fish, like my favorite was salmon. That's one of the fattiest fish on the planet. But that can cause issues as well. This study was on red meat in general. But meat in general is high in saturated fats, and the saturated fats cause high cholesterol. High cholesterol then blocks the cells from taking in or the fats themselves can block the cells.
According to that, people were eating a lot less than meat 50 years ago, 20, 30 years ago. Eating a lot less because the diabetes wasn't increasing like it is.
Right. But again, you go to a restaurant, you're eating like 3 servings of beef in one sitting. Not telling what you had earlier in the day, but we're having a lot more meat consumption than we did before. We didn't have a lot of these. Every corner there's a McDonald's. Every corner we're having all these fast food places. Yes.
What would you consider a serving size? Would you say a quarter pound, half pound?
Oh, that's a good question. I would have to find that for you. Yeah. Yeah. But also it depends. Also depends on child versus, adult versus, yeah. Of course, avoid these, and these are sugary beverages, but also, especially in this, I'm talking more so about the caffeine. One study looked at people with type 2 diabetes who took a 250 milligram caffeine pill at breakfast and another at lunchtime. That's about the same amount as drinking 2 cups of coffee with each meal. The results, their blood sugar was 8% higher than on days when they didn't have caffeine. Their reading also jumped by more after each meal. So why is that happening? So obviously caffeine can cause insulin resistance. And when you eat after a meal, the blood glucose is instead of going inside of the cell is blocked from taking in that blood glucose. So especially when you're diabetic, there's a lot of studies that show that diabetics, when they take in caffeine throughout the daytime, they have higher blood glucose. So what is caffeine? But also caffeine in and of itself, so when it causes resistance, but also in and of itself, caffeine can also stimulate the body to produce especially when you're drinking coffee with sugar and things like that, milk, things like that, it also increases the blood glucose. Right, the sugar, the saturated fats, the milk, all these other things. The creamers, right. So where does you find caffeine? All these things you find caffeine, even chocolate. Dark chocolate has about 80 milligrams of caffeine. Diet Coke also has caffeine. A lot of things that you use for headaches, like Excedrin and things like that, has caffeine in it as well. Black tea or tea, green tea also has caffeine in it. So a lot of these things that are touted or recommended for health actually can cause the opposite, especially when you're diabetic. But in general, for preventing diabetes, you should avoid caffeine. Preventing and curing. So what is this? A pile of chairs? And what? Yes, the entrance. Yes, school chair is blocking that door because we don't want a teacher in, right? We want to lock that teacher from entering in the classroom. Um, that's not you, all right? Like, you don't. You're okay. So you don't lock mommy out of the doors. Good, good, good. But so imagine this. Imagine a cell, and everything is pushed at the door of the cell, and it's blocking the entrance of glucose into the cell. Um, but why is this happening? What's causing this? So think about a lot of things that we often do. These are the chairs that we're pushing on the door. The sugars, the salt, the oils, the fats, the things we're pushing on the doors and blocking those doors. And it doesn't happen overnight. You know, you have one Twinkie, it's fine. You have 50 Twinkies later, then you start to have insulin resistance. So these, maybe not 50, 150, maybe, give or take. But what I'm saying is basically these things can increase the risk of insulin resistance, and this blunts the effect of what insulin can have on the cell. Milk does the same thing. Milk is high in the saturated fat, and once you have the saturated fat, of course, if you increase, you have a lot of milk, for instance. Now we're talking about cow's milk or dairy, essentially, especially cheese. It's very, very saturated with saturated fats. But that can block or blunt the effect of insulin on the cell, basically insulin resistance.
Somebody says it's just liquid meat.
Essentially, yeah, yeah. So how do we get rid of this? Speaking of temperance, of course, avoiding even sugars like honeys or honey. Yes, honey breaks down into the same thing as white sugar when you put it in the body. It breaks down into glucose. So be careful with the honey. Be careful with date sugar, coconut sugar. It breaks down into the same thing as white sugar.
Now, how about using just the whole date to
Yeah,
sweeten
you're better off using the date because the date has fiber in it, a lot of other things, nutrients. But when you many processed things, they lack amount the things that you need, your body needs. Um, sorry. Yes, do not separate what we join together. Wow, the object lessons tonight are flowing. You had a question. Same thing as well. Be careful of the amount. Of course, it's not as sweet. You know, blackstrap molasses is actually from processed cane sugar. It's the refuse or whatever's left over from getting the crystals. You have the blackstrap molasses. But you know what? The blackstrap molasses has a lot of nutrients in it. So we take out the crystals, but what's left over is the vitamin B12, the magnesium, a lot of other things. Iron. I usually tell individuals if you want to raise your iron within 2 weeks, take some blackstrap molasses. It's modest. Temperance is key. Yes, yes, yes.
I'm gonna come up on you. What do you think about fun? Because I mean, there's other reasons, right? So these sources from plants, different fruit trees, shrubs, whatever, very whatever. And these are nectars, natural nectars from these foliage that they collected and basically turn them into fun.
You know, when I talk about these things, I let the Bible talk for itself. Does the Bible talk about honey? I think it's very simple. Actually, it says honey can actually heal your bones. Yes, osteoporosis, whatever. So honey is good, right? But don't use too much. He said if you have too much, you'll vomit. So yes, I'm not saying not to use honey, but what I'm saying is be careful, be temperate with the amount that you have. Especially when you have diabetes, you should be trying to avoid these things. Especially when you have diabetes.
Even sometimes on the pulpit, they will tell you that one is not good.
On the pulpit?
That's totally false. Yes.
Yeah, no, so I mean, we had to be Bereans, right? Go home and check. So look up everything that says honey and read what it says about honey. Don't listen to Paul. Don't listen to Peter. Go home and read your Bible.
But the sad thing is people just follow it and go along with what they say.
Yeah, there's some people. Yeah, we blindly follow our leaders who are blind. Oh, for sure. Yes, 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 yes. Raw honey, right. 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 No, and that's key. So the source is key as well, but the point is be temperate. Be temperate in all things, even the honey.
Once you cook that honey, it becomes empty sugar.
Right, right, right,
It's too fat and it becomes ice.
right. But we don't want to stay on honey. But let's talk about salt. Salts also can cause inflammation in the body. So too much salt is too high salt intake content can cause inflammation in the body. Oils as well. So it's similar to what we were talking about with the nut butters. You want to have more olives than an olive oil. You want to have more corn than definitely not corn oil. But you want to have foods in their natural state. You want to have more, let me redeem myself. You want to have more avocados than avocado oil. All right. We're good? We can move on? Fats as well. You want to be careful with too much fats, saturated or unsaturated. If you have too many fats, you can tend to make more cholesterol as well. We're not talking about cholesterol here, but at the end of the day, that could be an issue that causes inflammation in the body and also blunts the cells from taking in the glucose. So one of the things that I often recommend for diabetics, and I've seen that it works, it's one of the best kept secrets. There are studies that show that people who follow an intermittent fasting diet schedule, they can overcome their diabetes within 3 weeks. So what is intermittent fasting? I like the 18-6 intermittent fasting. I think it aligns with what we're told in Inspiration. Let me say that again. I think this aligns with what we're told in Inspiration. So 18-6 intermittent fasting, so 2 meals per day, 6 hours apart, and no snacking in between. Not a morsel of food should enter our mouth between that time. Yeah, 5 hours, at least 5 hours apart. But 6 hours apart, I mean, this is what I'm saying, intermittent fasting is, right, it's in line with, exactly. Right. And also, it depends. So, for instance, if I ate, I won't say I'm going to have a strict 5 hours, right? So if I ate a big breakfast and after 5 hours I don't need a meal, then wait another hour or so. But basically, no snacking between. Now, I will also say that regularity is key. So oftentimes having a set time is key. So if I eat breakfast at 8 every morning, that's better than having breakfast at 8, then at 10, then at 7, then at 6. And it's best to have regularity. We often overlook that simple thing. Regularity is very key. It says regularity in eating, sleeping, and dressing even. Regularity is very key. Or drinking, I should say, is key. Mhm. Sure. I'm going to get to that as well. But basically, so no snacking in between. Like my sister was saying, basically when you have diabetes, they say, oh, have meals every, say, 2-3 hours or whatever, 6 small meals throughout the daytime, so forth and so on. But every time I eat, what am I doing to my blood glucose? I'm increasing my blood glucose. So does that make sense when I want to decrease my blood glucose on a regular basis? It doesn't make sense. Now, there's a reason why they do that, because you're taking insulin, you're also taking metformin and other things, and they say eat multiple times so that your blood sugar can stay up, and then the insulin brings it down. But what you'll find is that when you eat less, your blood sugar stays down naturally, and you won't need as much insulin as they prescribe, or the metformin or whatever. As a matter of fact, you get to the point where you won't need it anymore. And this is regards to type 2 diabetes, but at the end of the day, aim not to have small meals. Spread out your meals, but make sure you have substantial meals at these times. So substantial meals, a good wholehearty breakfast and a good wholehearty lunch or dinner, that is key. And also have all the nutrients or the macronutrients and micronutrients you need from your foods. So for instance, I can't just have 80% carbs and 5% proteins and 5% fats or whatever, 50% fats. Have a balanced meal, essentially. So you want to, especially as a diabetic, you want to have less carbs. You want to have less carbs, but more proteins and more fats. So increase the amount of fats, the nuts, the avocado. Have an avocado toast, for instance, with some oatmeal or something that will be more substantial throughout the daytime. Have some nuts with each meal. Have some beans, like I said, some lentils that are very high in protein. So if you can't handle beans, then the lentils, you can handle beans, then get some kidney beans or whatever for lunch, for breakfast. But aim to have a whole food, plant-based diet. And again, 2 meals per day, 6 hours apart, no snacking between. Now, we are on a clock. Our bodies are on a clock. It's called a circadian rhythm. And a circadian rhythm tells us when to eat, when not to eat, when to sleep, when not to sleep, when to exercise, when not to exercise. So at 12 o'clock at night, you shouldn't be exercising, basically. And the clock tells us this. We don't have to, everyone, if you try to work out at 12 o'clock at night, you will not do that. You won't have the energy to do that. But also, so the circadian rhythm also tells us when we release certain hormones. And certain hormones are released during the fasting periods of our lives, but also in the fed state period of our lives. For instance, insulin is a fed state hormone. And when I eat, I release insulin. When I'm not eating, I release another hormone from the pancreas itself called glucagon. And glucagon says the glucose is gone from the bloodstream, so I need glucose, and the glucose that is stored in the liver, glucagon says release glucose, so I need this when I'm fasting. I don't have energy right now, so release the glucose that was stored 5 hours later, or 5 hours before, or 4 hours before. So you need this balance between the fed state and fasting state. But also, like I said, what also dictates our circadian rhythm is the light-dark cycle. That's one of the most important things. So if I go outside and I see the light, my body starts to make certain hormones. If it becomes dark, my body starts to shift from making certain hormones. And you can't fool your body. Your body knows when it's light outside and it's dark outside. That being said, when I am, I'm about to sleep, what hormone do I make the most? Well, serotonin, we make serotonin in the daytime, and serotonin becomes melatonin at night. So you had to go outside, get some sunlight to get, especially when the sunlight strikes your eye, you make some serotonin. But the serotonin that we make in the daytime, which is very important for our mood and other things, and for inflammation. Also, we make, from that, we make melatonin at night. So guess what? If I'm not going outside to get in some sunlight, even if it's just 5 minutes, even in the winter times, go outside and get some 5 minutes of sunlight to make your serotonin, and then you can make your melatonin at night. But at the end of the day, so we have a second circadian clock in our brains that produces high levels of melatonin at night, and that's true. When the sun starts going down, we start to make more melatonin. It starts to ramp up, basically. And that's also based on the amount of serotonin that I had in the daytime. So if I'm not making a lot of serotonin, then I'm not going to make enough melatonin. So a lot of people ask me, oh, why do I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning every time? Every morning I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's because you ran out of melatonin. So get more sunlight, get more exercise also increases serotonin sunlight and exercise. Also, certain foods like cherries can increase melatonin, or oats can increase melatonin. A lot of nuts, certain nuts like pistachios and um, peanuts. Oh, not peanuts. Pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds are very high and can help with tryptophan, among other things. I will get to that, but it's not the same. I'll get to that. But so a second circadian clock in our brain produces higher. Actually, when did I get? So tomorrow I'll talk about sleep. No, yeah, I'll answer that now. But so a second circadian clock in our brain produces higher levels of melatonin at night, which acts on the pancreas to further suppress insulin at night. So, are you hear what I'm saying? So, when it gets darker, I make more melatonin. I make more melatonin, I make less insulin. That's how our body works. There's no way you can change it. I make more melatonin, I make less insulin. So that means if I'm eating a late meal, I don't have the insulin enough to break down that meal or to absorb that meal.
Also, if I'm taking, like, I remember there was a time I was taking, I couldn't sleep properly, so I would take like 30 milligrams of melatonin.
30?
It wasn't worth the
You know, let me hold that thought. Let me talk about melatonin because this is very serious. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. 30 milligrams. Okay, so wow, 30 milligrams. So, which acts on the pancreas to further suppress insulin release at night. So basically, increase melatonin, decrease insulin. You ever heard of the saying, "Don't eat after 6 p.m."? There's a reason why that is. I think, I'm not saying 6 p.m. is the time you start making a lot of melatonin, but basically the sun starts going down. And when the sun starts going down, we make less of cortisol and more of melatonin. Cortisol tells the insulin to work. Melatonin tells the pancreas not to work. So I'm eating my meals late in the evening times, and I don't have the sufficient insulin to basically suppress the blood glucose that I'm taking in. So if I'm eating a big meal, especially at 6:30, then the amount of insulin that I'm taking in or I'm making is insufficient to instruct the cells to take in the blood glucose. So in the morning time when I wake up, of course I'm going to have high blood sugar. Of course I'm going to have high sodium content, which increases blood pressure. Exactly. It's just floating in the body because I cannot use it as I cannot absorb it, basically. But not just that, the fats, because insulin is also very good for fats. And most times, especially working in the ER, you see individuals come into the ER with strokes and heart attacks and all these things because of a fat embolus or whatever, or a clot, or whatever it is. Most times you see them in the morning time from like 9 to 11. Why is that? Because they probably had something late in the evening and they didn't digest it, and all of a sudden you're having high blood pressure in the morning, a stroke or a clot that's forming, and you're having strokes or heart attacks and other things. So it's not wise to eat your meals late. Yeah, so you need insulin to store glucose. You need insulin to store also your fats and everything. So both these hormones work together. So glucose helps insulin helps to store the glucose, helps to store the fat, the amino acids. And then glucagon says, wait, now we're almost out. Let's take some out of the liver. Let's take some out of the fat cell. Let's take some things out of the even the muscles even to get the energy that we need.
So my question is,
Mhm.
if one would go to bed, your blood sugar's in a good place, you're eating early in the day, 5 or whatever, and then your stomach is basically empty when you go to bed, and you have a good blood sugar number, is it possible, like if you wake up and
That's a good question.
higher in the
Right.
morning.
Than it was in the evening. Right.
So is that
It is.
you're fasting?
So you're making also when you're sleeping and your body's waking up, you tend to make a lot of hormones, other hormones like growth hormone or cortisol. And cortisol and growth hormone they raise the blood glucose. So in the morning time, for you to rise, imagine if you didn't have any glucose to get up in the morning, you wouldn't get up.
It's not more than you need.
Right, exactly. It can in the mornings, depending on if you have impaired blood glucose. So, for instance, if you don't have impaired blood glucose, then it's going to be within the 70 to 90 range. But if you have impaired blood glucose, it might be a little higher. You need more, basically, or you have more available in your bloodstream. So, if you have 5% in your bloodstream, you add another 95%. Of course, you're going to have, okay, the 90%. If you have another 15%, you're going to have 105% rather than the 100% that you need. Does that make sense? Basically, what I'm saying is you're adding more blood glucose to glucose that was already there in the beginning. So the glucagon from the pancreas works to take out glucose from areas of course, the liver as well. Yeah. So in regards to melatonin, though, I'll answer your question, yes. So melatonin is something that we make, and we can also get it from certain foods like black cherries and so forth and so on. We can also help the body to make it by increasing serotonin uptake. So serotonin from like St. John's wort, for instance, or increasing tryptophan. Tryptophan you can have foods like oats. Like having oats before bedtime is one of the best things to help you to fall asleep. Or even just oats water. So put the oats in the water, let it soak, and drink the water, and that will also help you. So those are things that you can do. But when you're using melatonin. So technically they have what 2 milligrams and 5 milligrams. Yeah. When we take 30 milligrams, yeah, that's not. Yeah, that's when more is not better. That's one time when more is not better. Actually, melatonin can cause a lot of side effects, and doctors are known. So there was actually an article a few years ago, a couple years ago probably. It says that melatonin should be it shouldn't be an over-the-counter medication, prescription, because at the end of the day, it does cause a lot of these issues, especially the drowsiness and brain issues, mood issues, things like that. As a matter of fact, with melatonin, if you take melatonin, who's ever taken melatonin, they felt like they had a good night's rest? A good night's rest? Most people that take it, they feel so groggy in the morning. They feel like, yeah, they don't want to get out of bed, especially when you're taking 30 milligrams. Especially when you're taking 30 milligrams, you're going to feel very groggy in the morning. But at the end of the day, it's not giving you that good night's rest because so melatonin tends to, that's true, but there are other things that we can use. So instead of using melatonin, you can use other things. And I can give you some recommendations there. But at the end of the day, what melatonin does, it doesn't give you the amount of REM sleep that you need. So there's non-REM sleep and there's REM sleep. And REM sleep is where you dream and you actually get more restful sleep. You actually wake up in REM. When you wake up, you feel refreshed and you're breathing and you're hearing the butterflies. And aren't you still a teenager? Well, the point I'm trying to make is that it's best not to take melatonin. There are other things that you can use. Ashwagandha is one of the things that you can use. Also, like I said, St. John's wort, especially if you're not on the medications, take St. John's wort, which increases serotonin, and serotonin gets made into, the serotonin is transformed into melatonin at night. Valerian root, there's a lot of sleep aids. Yeah, so some people can have that effect, but passion flower, there's a lot of things that you can use rather than using melatonin. Yes. Right, right. The 30 milligrams, right. Right. Sheep sweat? Oh. Sheep sweat. How do you collect the sweat from a sheep? Oh man, yeah. No, I was. It's funny. I was in Jamaica. I'm laughing because I was. This is a sidebar, side joke. I was in Jamaica and someone says, "Get me some beef patties and some vegan beef patties," and I was like, "Okay, I'll get some beef patties." And I got it from a chain. I won't mention the name, but I look in the box. It says it has bee sweat, and I was like, "What is bee sweat? Like, who is actually waiting for the bee to sweat to collect it?" And it's spelled Suet, and it doesn't Sweat. But apparently they use like the plasma from the beef or the whatever to make these. So be careful when you reading quote unquote vegan things or vegetarian things. Read the labels. Yeah. Yeah, magnesium is very good for sleep as well. So you need a few things to make melatonin as well from serotonin. You need B vitamins like B6 and B12, but you also need things like calcium and magnesium in order to make your melatonin. I would say start with magnesium. Sometimes we're more magnesium deficient than calcium deficient. Um, uh, Let me get back to you on that. I'm more familiar with adding the magnesium. Like I said, we're more magnesium deficient. Let me get back to you on that. Did I answer your questions? Right. 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 Yeah. Well, tomorrow we'll talk more about sleep. I just want to, that's a sidebar, but aim not to take melatonin. The point is to, but the point here I was trying to say is that melatonin, once it increases in the body, your insulin decreases. It basically tells the pancreas to sleep. The pancreas is sleeping, you're not producing hormones like insulin. So it's not best to eat past a certain time. I usually say 6:30. That's when the sun starts going down, and then your insulin starts going down. Right. Exactly. 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 One last question before I move on. No. So ashwagandha is one of those adaptogens. So adaptogen, whatever you need, if you take it in the daytime, it gives you energy. If you take it at nighttime, it makes you rest. Mm-mm. So it depends on how much you're taking, for sure. I usually recommend 500 to 600 milligrams. So if you're taking 200 milligrams, then you may not be a teaspoon. I'm not sure how many milligrams that is, but also the potency of that powder. What's the potency on it? So I've got a, I would say, um, take some formulated doses of ashwagandha, and that could be helpful. Water. Let's talk about water. We have water and exercise to talk about. Almost done. So water is key, and obviously, how much water should we be drinking? Yeah, half your body weight in ounces, and divide that by 8, you get amount of cups. For instance, of 160 pounds, divide that by 2, I'm 80 ounces. Divide that by 8, I get 10 cups. Uh, that's basically, I don't think that's ideal for everyone. If I'm 300 pounds, I'm dividing it by 2, and I'm dividing it by 8. I spend the rest of my day drinking water. but I would say aim to get at least 8 to 10 cups of water a day. But also, you can have your foods, your fresh fruits and vegetables. You can have your water from those as well. A lot of your foods, like watermelons, 99% water. Cucumbers, like 98% water. Tomatoes, high in water. Broccoli, kale, 90 to 92% water. Your fruits, your vegetables, all these things, if you have them whole, you can have a lot of water from them. But aim to, if you're going to drink water bottles or whatever, aim to drink 4 to 5 uh, bottles of water per day. That's about 8 to 10 cups, basically. But also, in regards to water, water is the best beverage to drink. God did not make any Gatorade. But a lot of these things have sugar in it, and if you're constantly adding sugar throughout the day, guess what? Your blood sugar is going to be high. Just similar to the caffeine, your blood sugar is going to be high if you constantly have caffeine throughout the daytime. But think about these things that we often use, like not just the sports drinks, but the sweetened iced teas and all these other things that we have. They have a lot of sugar in them. So being careful, even the diet, whatever, they have a lot of sugar and other things that may cause inflammation in the body. It says, this is a study, you can find this on, I think the NIH sponsored study. It says, health effects associated with sugar-sweetened beverages. What do adults know? So most people know that it can increase your weight. And most people know that it can cause type 2 diabetes. Most people know that it can cause cavities. And this is 84%, 78.4%, 74.2%. What most people don't know is that it can also cause high cholesterol and heart disease and high blood pressure. So overall, aim to limit, this is something that you want to stop, actually. Drink more water. Exercise, and I'll close with this. So why is exercise important for diabetics? Yeah? Oh, my sister to be teaching this class right now. But yeah, no, exercise is very good. The two most important things, well, two of the most important things for overcoming diabetes, besides trusting God, of course, which we'll talk about more tomorrow, nutrition and exercise. And why is that? So think about a sieve. And when I vibrate the sieve, more of the flour or whatever I have in the sieve comes out. And that's how the body works, especially with our cells. When I vibrate those cells, the cells say, I don't care how much insulin is in the blood, I want that glucose, and it takes in the glucose. So it's like I'm shaking the sieve, and more glucose is falling into the cells. So think about it like that. Does that make sense? Yeah. But also walk, so simple things like walking. The best exercise is walking. And there's studies that showing that even if you jog or whatever, the best exercise is walking. And everybody can walk. Well, almost everyone, but most people can walk. And if you can't walk by yourself, if you're not stabilized, then use the walking sticks. Research shows from Cleveland Clinic, research shows that a short walk after a meal prevents your blood glucose from spiking as high as it would if you ate and then stayed sitting. It keeps your insulin levels stable as well. The pancreas says, I can take a break. I don't have to make more insulin because this person is exercising and allowing more glucose to get into the body without the insulin. The study indicates that walking just 2 to 5 minutes, that's it. 2 to 5 minutes can bump your blood sugar down a bit. But this isn't a magical solution for diabetes. Of course it's not. You've got to do more things, right? Or commit to doing more things. A post-meal walk is a great habit that benefits blood sugar, but managing diabetes never comes down to just one thing. That's true. But you can use it in conjunction with changing your diet and getting more water and getting more, be temperate in the way that we do things. Adding these things can be very important. Another thing that we often don't think about is stretching. We can also stretch, and that's a form of exercise. But also, if you think about it, rebounding, and be safe with it, of course. But someone's smiling for rebounding. We can use rebounding, yes. As a matter of fact, someone who had a blood sugar of 300, he jumped for about an hour on the rebound or the trampoline, the in-home trampoline, and his blood sugar dropped almost to normal. So simple things like this you can do. But I'll close with this, we talk about making changes, right? We talked about wanting to be someone who we aren't today, wanting to be better. But there's someone who's very intimate in helping us to change, make these changes. Very intimate. So you commit your way to the Lord, and then He will establish your thoughts. He's the one that's forming us. I like the quote, the scripture from Isaiah 64, verse 8 says, "But now, O Lord, thou art our Father, we are the clay, and thou art thou our potter, and we all are the work of thy hand." At the end of the day, it is God working through you. Once you adopt these things, it's God working through you to bring about the healing. He will shape or conform your life into what you want it to be. So I pray that God can be your potter, and just allow yourself to be the clay. Admit that something is wrong, submit to God, and commit to Him. I pray that this was a blessing. Tomorrow we'll cover sunlight, air, rest, and finally trusting God, and how these are very important keys to overcoming diabetes. Before I pause, what's one thing that you learned tonight? Can someone raise your hand, and what's one thing that you learned tonight? What's one thing new you learned tonight? See, so the thought was berberine is found in certain herbs.
Yeah, the berberine that found in certain herbs. That was new. I never knew that.
What herb? Can you name one herb?
You said golden seal.
Golden seal? Can you name another one?
You said St. John's wort. Did you say St. John's wort?
No, barberry, Oregon grape.
Okay.
No, it's good. You got one.
Yes.
That's good.
All right.
Huh? Oregon grape. Yeah. Learned.
I learned that when you go outside and you get sunlight, your body creates the serotonin,
Yes.
and then it transfers to melatonin.
At night, right. That's good. That's good. But we're not talking about sunlight tonight, but yes, that's a good, we talked about that. Anyone else? Yes. Eat a salad every day, yes. Eat a salad every day.
Eat a salad every day.
Why should we eat a salad every day? Why should we eat a salad every day?
He asked, why should you eat a salad?
Why should we eat a salad every day? Sister Doctor, why should we eat a salad every day? Helps with diabetes, but how, Sister Doctor? You got to tell me how, Sister Doctor. Yes.
The mic. Lorraine, put it to the mic. Even if it hit breathing.
Okay, fair enough. So, so who wants to help out? You want to phone a friend?
I'll say it one more time.
Yes. So eat a salad every day.
That's good. That's good.
This is the last time I'm going to say it.
Yeah, last time you gonna say it.
Eat a salad every day,
Yes.
but I don't know why.
Okay. She wants to phone a friend. Who wants to help her out?
Sister Lee.
Why is eating a salad a day very important?
I believe because the glycemic
Is it on?
Right.
of the
Right. It's low glycemic index.
the glycemic index of the salad is going to be lower, and your body is going to be able to. It doesn't need that much insulin.
Exactly.
It wouldn't demand insulin of your body.
Right.
So have the salad, sis.
Yes. But also it's very high in water content, but also it's very high in fiber as well. Fiber helps to blunt the effect of the blood glucose. So if you're eating, say, for instance, a piece of toast, which is carbohydrates, with your salad, the salad helps to blunt the glucose rise, or of the insulin rise of the carb that you're eating. Oh, you learned something new today. You were taking notes, so I had to ask you a lot of questions.
Another reason salad is good is because it's green and you should eat your greens. And my sister said it helps with diabetes.
Yes, it does.
And another reason why salad is good because it helps to sleep.
Uh-huh.
And it's like it helps the digestion, and it's a good thing to help. Like if you before you eat your cooked food, you should eat your salad.
Amen. That's good. Yes, you can. Ask me a question. Uh-huh.
Activates your medication that you're taking.
Right.
So does the liver activate the salad to help you too?
You know, every food that we eat, it actually goes to the liver to process it. So everything that we eat basically goes to the intestines or whatever, and then it shunts it to the liver, and the liver says, okay, what should I do with this? This is carbohydrates, what should I do with this? This is proteins, or amino acids, what should I do with this? Or this is the fats, what should I do with this? And it can send the fat to the fat cells, it can send the sugar to the muscle cells, which needs a lot of sugar to move. It can also store the sugar itself. So everything that we eat actually goes to the liver. So, good. Well, we're talking about more medications, but yeah, good question. So, does anyone learn anything new? I'm getting a lot of women. I don't understand. What about the guys? I'm not touching that one.
I have a question. What is the importance of eating salad first before eating the rest of our meal?
Good job. So it's good question. So we have more bioavailable nutrients when we do that, but also certain foods, they come with their own enzymes to break down that food itself. So if I'm eating a lot of cooked food versus fresh foods, then I'm actually using a lot of my energy to break that food down, to assimilate that food. But if I'm eating a lot of like undigested, unprocessed foods, if I'm eating a live fruit or a live vegetable, then I'm actually using their enzymes to break down their own, to assimilate my own, the nutrients that I need from them. So, and that's one question. And that's why, sorry, your older daughter's name, huh? Your daughter's name? Mariah. That's why Mariah said it's best to eat your cooked, your uncooked foods first, because you get more enzyme, more energy to break down the uncooked foods. Go ahead.
And the other thing was about the insulin and the greens.
Another question was about the insulin and the greens. The mic's not on. So I'll repeat the question. Right. And that's why pairing these foods. So the question was, in eating the salads first, does it help to, I guess, manage the blood sugar better when we're eating other things like brown or rice or things like that? So yes, it does, because again, you're increasing the amount of fiber, and that blunts the amount of insulin that's being released. It lowers the amount of glucose essentially. But also, again, you're adding a lot of energy into digesting those foods from the fresh fruits and vegetables. Yeah. You have a question? Take yours.
In reference to the question Sister Ruth just asked, too, eating raw foods before our cooked foods, raw foods digest quicker than processed foods. I know it was a doctor, I forgot his name, back in the 1800s. He did a study where he showed how many hours each item breaks down in your system.
Right.
So when we eat the raw foods, after you have a cooked meal, it could create fermentation in the system, and stuff don't get processed properly. So
Right. That's true. So, yeah, that's a good point. And you have a question?
The liver or any of those, the liver or the kidney or whatever.
No, like I said, I don't like to talk about my own opinions. My opinions mean nothing. But in a biblical sense, we can see that there's a cleansing, right? If you think about there's a reason why when the animals were being slaughtered, the two things that were taken from the animal, and some things were taken outside of the camp and burned. Some things were burned on the altar itself. One of those things are the liver and the kidneys. The caul of the liver, and the kidneys. So why is that? I think God is telling us about sanctification, but also purification, also detoxification. Exactly. So when we talk about detox, like I said, I don't want to talk about my own personal opinions, but I think the Bible is clear about detoxing. And it points to those specific things, the liver and the kidneys, for a reason. So I always tell individuals, think about the sanctuary. The sanctuary had to be cleansed every year, right? The sanctuary had to be cleansed at least one every year. So think about doing that for your own body.
But I've heard others say that he didn't feel that it was good to do that. And it's like you get all these different opinions.
Yeah.
Getting confused.
Yeah, and we go through this world of sin and we take in things that if you allow it to build up, of course it's going to cause more harm than good. I remember every year in Jamaica we had, I was born in Jamaica, I grew up there for some time, but every year before school, we were getting our cleanse. I didn't like it, but we were getting our cleanse. Castor oil, cod liver oil, what else did we get? Cersei. Oh man, see, so you got Epsom salt. Yeah, so basically, yes, we stopped doing that basically, and we're seeing more uptick of diseases in children, and I think that's one of the reasons why we don't really do or honor that anymore. Yeah, we had worms, we had all these things. Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah, it chased you out of your own system. But yes, it does. I have a question in the back.
Yes, just comment here. Why diabetics is always coming with kidney problems?
Good question. So when you have diabetes, when you have high blood sugar, there's only a certain amount of sugar that the kidney is supposed to get rid of. Or actually, so there is what I would say, no, it's not supposed to get rid of glucose, but what I would say is that is a limit at which when the blood is oversaturated with blood sugar, that it spills over into the kidney. So say for instance, the limit is 350 milligrams of blood glucose, right? And then I have 351. I'm spilling that one over and getting rid of that. But most people with diabetes, what they do is they spill a lot of glucose into the kidneys. And glucose, again, is sticky. So it's going to stick to these cells and damage the cells. The kidney cells are very specialized cells. And once they're damaged, then it's very difficult to heal. But basically, if you have, we usually urinate a lot of blood glucose, and that damages the kidneys. And that causes kidney failure, among other things. One
Okay, but
question
my
here.
question, we have Sister Monica. Okay, let me ask quick. When we were talking about intermittent fasting, you suggested that you have one meal. Like I do a meal at 6, and then I usually do another one like at 4 or 5. But if I'm supposed to do that 18:6, then I probably should do another one at 12. Okay, like at evening time, like 6 p.m., is it okay to take like some celery juice or something like that?
Right. So you can do things like eating a soup, something very light, like a light salad. You can do that.
That wouldn't be considered another meal.
It's very light. You digest it quicker, and you take less. If you do a salad, for instance, you take less insulin to digest that.
Okay, okay.
So,
Some people put, protein.
exactly.
Simple thing. Okay.
Very, very, very simple. Some broth, right? Some broth. Yeah. So I know we could have these big soups, like we have in Jamaica, but yeah, not those big soups, please. But Sister Vondell had a question.
You mentioned chromium. What kind of chromium? There's chromium picolinate, there's chromium, there's several kinds of chromium. Does it matter which kind?
We use more of the chromium picolinate than not.
Okay.
I think just like the magnesium, you can have more that are better absorbed than some, like like I said, magnesium citrate is better absorbed. Magnesium glycinate is absorbed better than malate and oxide and sulfate, so on and so on. So same thing. You probably want to use the chromium picolinate, but you can use other chromium as well. Picolinate. 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 We got a question over here. Oh yeah, we'll take you first before we go over there.
Okay, the question is, which part of Jamaica are you from? That was a question
We're only
from
taking
inside
questions.
the
We'll take
wall.
questions about diabetes tonight. You got to come back on Sunday to find out where I'm from. Yes, I'm heaven bound. Yeah. Oh, that's what you were asking about where I'm from in Jamaica.
No, I didn't. It's on video. That's what I. I can talk without you, thanks. No, it's on video. Okay. All right. My question is, since you were just now on cleansing, I'm just asking about enemas because some people take enemas like 3 times per year, and a naturopath told me that, you can do your enemas, not very often, but, as often as you think to take it. And I do take enemas sometimes, not very often. So what do you say about that?
There may be some benefit to enemas. I mean, herbal enemas and things like that. But I wouldn't do it. Like I said, I wouldn't think that doing it often is appropriate. So you have fine, the bacteria, the gut microbiome, for instance, and you can actually destroy your gut microbiome when you're doing things like that. Now, say for instance you have a disease of the colon, and you want to, say a colon polyp or whatever. Like doing a herbal enema could be helpful there, but I wouldn't say do an enema just to do it. It's just like ask yourself, what does it need? You can actually do a lot of other things to cleanse the bowels rather than doing an enema. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Any questions? Yes. How much castor oil? So we usually do like a tablespoon, but do it in an empty stomach and don't eat for about 6 hours. No, you might feel like it, but you're gonna get rid of it anyway. Huh? You don't have to heat it up. Yeah, so you can put it in some orange juice and just drink it, or some grape juice and drink it. But yeah.
I missed the reason why, but what was this in reference to? The cleansing. Okay. My grandmother used to give it to me when I was bad.